Chairman of the Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission. It is January the 20th, 2022. It is 7:02 p.m. Going to call this meeting to order. Will you all please stand and join me in the allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As you know, this meeting is a hybrid meeting. This meeting may be accessed by the public either in person or electronically in real time, set forth the agenda. This meeting will be conducted in part via electronic equipment pursuant to Connecticut Law Public Act 21-2. All participants may attend in person or remotely via computer, tablet, or smart link published on the agenda. This meeting will be recorded and made available on the town's website pursuant to state law. Written public comments in compliance with the guidelines for public participation for electronic meetings may be submitted up to the close of business day of the meeting by electronic email. We're going to call the roll, starting on my right.
Dominic Smergalino, alternate.
Dominic Panitia, alternate.
Ryan Condon, Commissioner Secretary.
Bruno Maini, Vice Chairman.
Robert Westland, Commissioner.
Nicole Lupo, alternate.
Rick Schultz, Town Planner.
Joe Chapman, Planning Administrator.
And online.
There's Stroud, Recording Secretary.
Thank you. Oh, no, we're not. It didn't make it to the agenda.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda.
It's going to have to be the next.
I think you just.
Okay, thank you all.
I wanted to kick Ryan off.
Next on the agenda is general public participation.
Yeah, you want to read this?
No. It's
This is the time where
Next week.
the commission will hear from any members of the public in person or online that have any questions, comments, or would like to bring anything to the attention of the Planning and Zoning Commission that is not on the agenda scheduled for a public hearing or site plan review, or that might come on the agenda in the foreseeable future. So this is for a comment on items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to comment? Or is there anyone online that would like to have any comments or input? Hearing none, then we'll move on to our first public hearing. This is SCP 2021-15, 395 Monroe Turnpike. This is a application by Dunkin' Donuts Restaurant. Do you have the?
Yep. In accordance with CGS 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Thursday, January 20th, 2022 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting and by phone, and with limited in-person attendees located at Monroe Town Hall, Council Chambers, 7 Fan Hill Road, Monroe, Connecticut, 06468. Concerning the following: SCP 2021-15, 395 Monroe Turnpike, IB-1 special exception permit application for a Dunkin' Donuts restaurant located at 395 Monroe Turnpike, Assessors Map 030, Lot 011/0B. Gregory L. and Roy E. Steiner, owners, Spat Jorkland Associates Incorporated representative. Please check the town website for announcements on meeting cancellations, rescheduling. Notice was published twice, invoices on Wednesday, January 5th and January 12th.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Ambrosi has arrived. And Rick, do you have the list of exhibits?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, exhibit number 1, town engineer comments. Exhibit number 2, ARB recommendations. And that is all, Mr. Chairman.
for the applicant tonight.
Good evening, members of the commission. This is Dave Bjorklund, representing the applicant, Dunkin' Donuts. And for the first time in 44 years, I'm going to have a little different introduction. And the reason for the different introduction that the commission is used to hearing is that right after the first of the year, Spath Bjorklund Associates merged with J. Edwards and Associates. So Spath Bjorklund is now part of J. Edwards. So I'm representing Dunkin' Donuts, and the applicant is being represented by J. Edwards and Associates. I'm going to start the hearing, but because our attorney, Chris Smith, could not be here, he's on an airplane flight back from Colorado, I believe. I'm going to start the hearing, but then I'm going to request that we continue it to the next meeting. But just to give you a quick rundown as to what this application is about, the location is at the Village Square Shopping Center, which I'm sure everybody is aware of and familiar with it. In the southeast corner of the shopping center, directly in front of the St. Vincent's medical facility, there's a vacant piece of land. Over the years, it's been used for a staging area, primarily for the snow plowing operations, but overall it's been vacant. And this parcel, it's a separate parcel from the center, and it was created in 1987. And what we're proposing here is to relocate the Dunkin' Donuts from 401 Monroe Turnpike. That's a facility that's on the corner of Elm Street and Monroe Turnpike, and to relocate it to this location and to create a 2,107 square foot freestanding Dunkin' facility with a drive up. One of the things about the current facility at 401 Monroe Turnpike is there is not a drive up window, which in this day and age, it's a necessity to have a drive up window. The facility is going to share the parking with the existing Village Square. One of the advantages of this location is that it's going to also use the existing access drive. We're not creating a separate access to this facility. And we have the advantage of having a traffic light. The facility will be served by the public water and an on-site septic system. And as Mr. Schultz pointed out, we did receive ARB approval, and that letter is in the file. So as I said earlier, we'd like to continue this to the next meeting where we can have our full team, including representatives from Dunkin' Donuts, our attorney, Chris Smith, and our traffic engineer, provide a detailed presentation of just what the application is. Yeah. If you have any questions right now, I'll be glad to answer them, but I look forward to meeting with the commission at your next meeting.
Will that be in person, Dave?
I believe our team will be in person. I'm not sure the Dunkin' Donuts people are from Massachusetts, and I can't speak for them.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll let Rick know what the proposal is as far as attendance goes at the next meeting.
All right, any comments from the commissioners, anything at this point?
I can wait. I have some questions, but I'll wait.
All right, then we will continue this hearing until,
You have to open it twice.
I don't know.
I think you have to, right? It's a public hearing. Technically.
Well, before we continue the hearing, are there any members of the public that have any comments on this application? of the little bit that we do know about it. Any members in person or any members of the public online would like to comment, please make yourselves known. If not, then we will continue this hearing until our next meeting, which I believe is February 3rd. Thank you. Next on the agenda,
Thank you.
C, subdivision site development plan review. We have SUB 2021-03, file 1269D, 334 Cutler's Farm Road. This is our F1 district. This zone. Do we have any exhibits on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have the town engineer comments, which the applicant has received. Inland wetlands review acknowledgement. Number 3, updated town engineer comments. And number 4, revised plans by the applicant. And number 5, the health department. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Good evening. And for
Good evening.
the applicant, we have
Donald Smith Jr., professional engineer with an office 6 Greenwood Circle in Seymour. Here tonight representing Caranta Building and Remodeling. Gary Caranta Sr. and Gary Caranta Jr. Are here in the audience tonight. Matter before you is a hopefully simple 3-lot subdivision at 334 Cutler's Farm Road. The existing parcel is on the screen. This is a 4.064 acre parcel with 450 feet, 1/2 inch of frontage. Okay, 450 feet, 1/2 inch. Okay. Parcel exists there. There's approximately 2,666 square feet of wetlands on the upper portion of the sheet. This is already actually here, right?
Yep.
So there's a 10,000 square foot wetland parcel in the back. We adjoin Town and Monroe open space parcel to the back, which is to the east. The parcel has the existing farmhouse on it here in the center of the parcel. The proposal is to create 3 lots, 3 new lots. The existing farmhouse on the center lot remains. That would be a 1.1 acre parcel. There'll be a new parcel created all the way along the north property line, which would be a 1.12 acre parcel. And then on the southerly property line, I believe it's, I'm sorry, vice versa. This is the 1.12 acre parcel. This is the 1.1. So all 3 parcels are just over 1 acre. We are proposing a 0.81 acre open space dedication, which is just under 20% of our gross area. So here is the wetlands. So there's a stone wall here that basically designates the wetlands further to the east. And then we have the open space that includes the wetlands as well as some upland review area. The new parcels will be served by municipal water and natural gas. There is an existing well on lot 2 that will be abandoned. The existing house on lot 2 is connected to city water. There's still a well out in the back, so we will get that well abandoned and properly abandoned. The right-of-way for Cutler's Farm Road in the area of our frontage exceeds 50 feet, which is your standard for this level of roadway. The problem that we have, so to speak, is here on the northerly end. The street line is less than 25 feet from the center line of road. So that results in this curb line being closer to this property line. Right now, there's about a 3-foot wide snow shelf between the curb line and the stone wall. There's an existing stone wall, probably for 2/3 of this frontage. The southerly end, there's no problem down here, but it's just this section up in here that we have less than the required 25 feet from center line, but the right of way is greater than the 50 feet. So your regulations require that when we're less than 25 feet from center line, that we have to do a right of way dedication. So that is this dashed line, and the dashed line in the back, and maybe I can zoom in here, right? Okay, so again, here's our the curb line is this upper line right at the tip of my cursor. This heavy line is the storm sewer. Curb line is right over here. So Tracy, our surveyor, so from the center line to the street line here, we have 25 feet that's required. Over at this end, from the center line of the roadway to the 25 feet, puts us a few feet back into our property. Typically, you would require this dedication to be granted to the town in fee simple. By granting you that parcel in fee, our frontage is reduced by 3/4 of an inch. Right? So instead of 450 feet, 1/2 inch, we now have 449 feet, 3/4 of an inch. So we're a 1/4 inch short from the frontage required for the 3 lots. 1/4 of an inch. So we have submitted a waiver request that based on the size and shape of the parcel, that we are asking that rather than an actual dedication be simple, that we grant you a easement for highway purposes over this slight triangular area on this lot. We submitted that as a separate waiver as part of our application. Part of Scott's letter addressed that waiver. I believe he's comfortable with that. The only thing we're not necessarily comfortable with Scott's report on that is asking that we relocate the stone wall from where it currently exists over to the new, not even a new street line, but to the easement. So, but that's, I guess that's up for discussion. So
How far is that?
how far?
How
back?
far would the stone wall have to be relocated?
That easement along that left-hand side there is 8 feet. Right, so this edge of the easement here is 8 feet, 8.17. So that stone wall from center line to center line theoretically would be about 8 feet at that end and 0 up at this end. Let me go to our next sheet just to so all right, so with our proposed site development plan, again, these are concept plans, but lot 1 is here on the right-hand side. That driveway would be coming pretty much straight in. These would be front-loaded garages. Our septic system is going to be here to the left of the house. We would have a stormwater management area further in the back. This property generally slopes from the south end here to the north, going down. The existing house is to stay. No improvements are proposed on that, but we did identify a septic reserve area for that house as required by the health code. And then lot 3, again, a proposed 4-bedroom house, front-loaded garage, driveway on the right-hand side. We would be taking out some of this stone wall to provide for the driveway and for the site distance. but it was not our intention to remove the remainder or move the remainder of that stone wall. So,
Well, you need to move the property line, right?
sorry?
You need to move the property line to accommodate for Scott, right?
If we move the property line, then we don't have sufficient frontage for the 3 lots. So that's why we're asking that rather than a dedication, street line dedication, where we create the parcel and be simple, we're proposing to dedicate an easement for highway purposes over that portion of the lot. So that if in the future that this lot is if Cutler's Farm Road is ever reconstructed again, or when it is reconstructed again, I'm not sure when it was rebuilt. Certainly in the not too distant past, it has been widened and realigned to some degree. But we're talking about this, blue triangular, goes from 0 at this down to 8 feet here. And that's that little triangular piece. So I guess just to kind of give a view of the area, but this is looking south on Cutler's Farm Road. Our property is here along the left. There is a 2-foot wide shoulder or thereabouts on Cutler's Farm Road, and you can see the stone wall here, covered in vegetation. The west side of the street, there's quite a bit of yard area, well-maintained, kept yard area that Scott was talking about for pedestrian travel. Looking to the north of our property, okay, this driveway is just behind our property, but just to the north of our property, the shoulder is really neck down to 0. There's guardrail right along the edge of the road on both sides. So any pedestrian usage of the shoulder will be out into the roadway as they get further to the north. So, the stone wall, certainly I think when the new owners come in here, that the vegetation will be gone. This will be cleaned up. Would ask that condition, that not be made a condition of approval if in fact you do grant us that waiver.
Okay, is that it?
I think that's it. If you have any questions, I think that's a start. We did, in accordance with the commission's request, we did send a notice of this application to our neighbors. There were 4. We have a neighbor here to the north, and there are 3, 1, 2, 3 neighbors here to our side. So those were sent a notice via U.S. mail that the commission was not going to be holding a public hearing, but it was going to be. So I don't know if there's anybody. Here to answer any questions.
Okay.
Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll go to the commission first. Are there any questions? Start on my right.
Did you hear back from any of the neighbors?
I did not know.
And staff did not receive any calls.
Oh, that's all I have.
I have no question.
No questions.
So, the engineer was concerned about the street plantings. It should be.
Yeah, that, excuse me, that's a copy of the letter. I spoke to Scott about that. Your subdivision regs are pretty clear. It says street trees are required to be planted along any new road to be dedicated to the town. So this is an existing road, so street trees are not required by regulations. I spoke to Scott about that. He said, well, if they're not required, they're not required. It's in the semantics of the language, but the subdivision regs require street trees on new streets that are being dedicated to the town, not a case like this.
You don't plan on doing any plantings in front there?
We did not plan on doing the street trees.
Scott seems to have a problem with the easement.
Well, do you have the Scott's revised letter, I'm assuming?
Mr. Chairman, the town engineer
Yeah.
is supporting the waiver with the condition that the stone wall be relocated for public safety reasons. So, yeah, so what the town engineer is saying,
Oh, I have it here.
We have it.
he supports the easement scenario versus the dedication to the right of way if the stone wall is moved in a easterly direction for public safety purposes. So the town engineer is asking the commission to waive, to weigh the pros and the cons.
It's the 20th.
Yeah.
So that's the second part.
It's not that easy. I just looked over, I'm like, you're actually looking at that. Yeah, so here, he basically says all he wants is the stone wall moved.
So I think, is he in agreement to move the stone wall?
And just one.
They don't want it.
I know we don't want to.
Some of that stone wall that's still remaining there extends beyond our property onto our neighbors. Okay, so, there's a couple of stones, the end of the stone wall extended beyond our property. So that would stay, and then the stone wall would end up having to come back, and then, so if we were not asking for the waiver, if it was a simple dedication, I don't know that relocating the stone wall would be a condition because we're meeting the regs, we're making that simple dedication and providing the extra right of way.
Well, the only reason why I think that moving a stone wall, because if the town had to do some work there and they had to remove the stone wall, and the person that owns the house is going to say, oh, what are you doing here? That's, I mean.
The town's gonna have an easement, for whatever they want.
No, I have all that, but it turns out to be somebody that's used to it and thinks it's theirs and is there and everything like that. So I think I'm in agreement, maybe move the stone wall. That's my opinion, because for some reason, if town has to do some work there, or if they want to widen the road, or they have to do some kind of road there, and it's going to turn into be a disaster for the person that owns the house because they're used to having that stone wall.
And again, you have a greater than a 50-foot wide right of way there. You already have a 50-foot wide right of way. So.
All right, it's good for me.
What was that? Hermione.
So
Yeah, but the was all the way down.
so my feelings on the stone wall are this. I'm
Gotta weigh the pros and cons.
A, it's not bothering anybody now. Right? So it's there. It's not bothering anybody. But what happens if work does need to get done there? Then it may become an issue. So that's kind of where I'm torn between the two. I don't know. That's my only concern is that, A, it's currently there and it's not bothering anybody, and then B, something does have to get done there, then what?
If something is going to be done there as part of a larger project, it's going to be a much larger project for the sidewalks and have the right of way to do that. But
How far is this from Wolf Park?
A house away from the parking lot.
The west,
pardon?
Right up the street.
like 2 houses away, it's
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 houses
Yeah.
down from.
from the dirt lot. There's
There. Bruno.
2 houses or 3 between the dirt lot and this.
I know. Oh, just a whole thought process here, brother. So when they put in the senior center, they put in sidewalks to make it easier for people to get to the park. If those people wanted to walk to the park per se, I'm assuming that you have no interest in putting sidewalks there.
The easement is granted for highway purposes, whether it be sidewalk, utility, roadway, we're granting that 50-foot wide. It's the same as you owning it for whatever purpose you would need to own it for highway purposes. We're just granting you an easement, so we still own it because we need that quarter of an inch. That's that quarter of an inch.
Right, I'd hate to stop a project for a quarter of an inch. I think it's absolutely ridiculous personally myself. I don't know, that's kind of just where I am. I have no other concerns. It's not a big
So,
deal.
I mean, has there been any memorable public safety concerns in the past with the stone wall in the current location?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of work in town, not that I'm aware of. I think you guys would know if there were or not. I don't know of any.
Nothing in recent memory?
No.
To me, it sounds like an unreasonable amount of work to do to move the stone wall that hasn't caused any problems to date. There's not going to be any wells, public water, all 3 lots.
No.
And I have no issue with the waiver on the stone wall, as long as it doesn't create a line of sight issue once the construction's complete.
That was one of Scott's comments, is he wants to make sure that we, and again, this is a potential site development plan, assuming that this is where the driveways are going. He wanted us to define a little bit, he wanted us to take our, when we went out and measured line of sight, okay, we measured it from this point here, which is, I'm going to say about 10 feet back from the edge of the road. Scott asked us to measure 15 feet back from the shoulder line. So the actual eye location is moving back a little bit farther, but the reality is all of these driveways have very good sight distance. Even 400 or 500 feet, nearly double what the driveway requires. So, we have, there's 600 feet. So the sight distance from these lots is excellent. We will comply with Scott's comment and move that back and show how much of that stone wall would need to come out to get the driveway and maintain your sight distances. But we're not planning on whole scale either remove the location of the walls.
Understood. All right, that's all I have.
So I'm in agreement that the wall is there now. It's been there for however long it's been there. And I know the house next to it, it's been there for a while. I don't know if the stone wall is still in front of that one or not, but it does go down to Bug Hill.
The house going to the left?
Not the yellow house, yeah, the one to the left.
Yeah, their driveway, this is their driveway paving right here.
Okay.
This line is their driveway. So that stone wall does extend beyond our property.
Right, and I think it actually extends off to the other left side of their property down towards Bug. I live across the street on Holly Lane from here, and I walk up and down that road almost it's nice out almost every day.
Okay.
And I've never seen an issue with the stone wall. I've never seen car accidents up that way. It's more further down Cutler's Farm that we have issues, that curve. And I'm for retaining the stone wall. I don't see it being.
What side of the road do you walk on?
Both. Yeah, when I go up toward the park, I walk on the side where this is going to go. And when I come home, I walk on the opposite side. And I've never had a problem.
Going to the park. Right, you're walking against Stratford.
Right. A sidewalk would be great, yes, but.
In the park, you're walking against traffic going up the hill.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's tight, but it's,
It is tight, again, it's an unkept shoulder right now because of the houses.
right.
So once I think you have the property owners there, especially on both sides, that shoulder would be cleaned up, but all this vegetation on the wall.
Actually so close to the park.
Some of this vegetation will be gone, but all of this on the wall, I think that it'll
Yeah, and
clean up and expose the wall.
that being cleaned up right there, just from building, I think will improve the sightline anyways when walking, not having all that growth there. Neighbors did ask me if, I think I know the answer, but I said I would ask, any blasting associated, anything that has to get blasted in any of the property? It seems pretty flat, but, okay,
We did not encounter any ledge in our septic test pits down to 7 feet, so.
okay.
Roughly how far is it from the curb line back to the wall? At its greatest point, the width?
At the closest point?
Yeah.
This area right in here at the closest point from the curb line to the edge of the wall, and that wall is drawn at like 3 feet wide, so it was like 3 feet from the curb line to the wall. The wall is 3 feet wide.
So if you cleaned that up, you'd have the plus 3 feet to that for a walkway. Okay. And the wall is a farm wall or is it a built wall or what kind of wall is it?
I think it's a farm wall.
Piled up rocks.
Yeah, it's just a pile of rocks.
There's shed, small barn here on the property, unfortunately.
Easy to move
that's
then.
removed.
Okay.
But, this was cultivated field here, and, up to the south.
Right.
But, as just recently, their watermelons and pumpkins are planted out in the back here. And this field has been out of service, I think, for a little while, but that's been a farm for a long time.
So if they had to move the wall, it'd be to create a jog in there, which is kind of an unnatural. Okay. One other question about the area up above at the upper end of the 3 lots there, and that's what's going to be the .08 as open space. 0.8. Okay, that's what I'm looking at right there. That includes the wetlands in that area. Okay, you said it backs up to town property?
That backs up to town of Monroe property, yes.
Okay. Where's the access to that town of Monroe property? How do you get to that open space via the town of Monroe property? Where's that?
I think that comes, I'm sorry, I don't know the streets, but that extends through, that was part of the adjoining subdivision, I believe.
Heather Road.
Heather Road goes to this end,
Right, yes.
the south. I think that's, yeah.
So we're saying that we're not creating a landlocked piece, correct?
No.
So there is access to what abuts that to a town property. So in other words, you could get from wherever that access is through existing property to that lot, right, to that space right there.
Say that again.
So you could get from wherever access is to the existing Monroe property to that parcel also.
Correct.
Okay.
There's existing public access to the town of Monroe property that would then feed into this parcel.
Okay.
I don't really understand if you had the extra quarter of an inch, then you would transfer the property, the right of way in a different manner.
It would be in fee simple.
And then would the town move the wall? So then there really is no sense in making that distinction, is there? Rick?
No,
Okay.
it's a judgment call, and it sounds like most of the commissioners feel comfortable with it because you have stone walls in the town right away now. And as the applicant indicated, that's a nice straight run right there.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then let's go to the public. Any members of the public here tonight that would like to comment on this application before us? Any members of the public online that would like to comment on this application? Please unmute yourself and speak up now, or raise your hand, or we go back to the image.
There you go.
Anyone online there would like to comment on this application?
That's a no.
Any other comments from the commissioners?
I just have a quick question, just because I live right over there. There is
There we go.
wetlands behind my house, which go to Cutler's, and I thought it went under Cutler's right into where this property is. Does it not?
There's access on Bug Hill and on Heather Road to get to that back wetlands. I'm looking at the GIS, so it wouldn't be landlocked at all. It would just be adding into the two, owned by Monroe.
To share again, I can show you. I believe it's just further up, but there's a culvert that goes under the road.
Okay, so it's
right up.
off. Okay, thank you.
This is a 24-inch on this side, I think.
You crossed over somewhere. All right, thank you.
That wetland corridor goes under the road and then wraps up
Do not
back.
mess in Nicole's neighborhood.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Just one.
Your Short, a quarter of an inch? Is that what you say?
If we comply with your regulations and provide a right-of-way dedication to get 25 feet from center line, our frontage is reduced by 3/4 of an inch. And we only have 449 feet, 3/4 of an inch, or 1/4 of an inch shy of the 3 lots at 150 feet of frontage.
Why wouldn't you be asking to waive that quarter of an inch?
Can't.
I think I guess that there's a couple of ways to skin the cat, okay? I don't know that ZBA would be the right place to do that. Okay, so that's why we've asked, because, you know, the right-of-way, again, the right-of-way itself is greater than 50 feet. It meets or exceeds the requirements for 50 feet. The problem is the roadway, when the road was built, it's not rebuilt. It's not in the center, it's shifted more towards our side. So your regulations also require that we provide from 25 feet from center line. So you end up with a wider right-of-way than the 50 feet just to accommodate where that road is. So we've asked to, rather than give you that property, proposing an easement for highway purposes. It's in our front setback, so it doesn't hurt the property at all. And that it maintains the frontage that we don't comply, we have greater than the 150 feet of frontage for each of the 3 lots. So we thought that that was going to be the cleanest way to try and do that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is one of the rare circumstances. And we have a provision in the subdivision regulations that allows this waiver. Town engineer is saying it's reasonable. He's just taking it to the next step because the town engineer is always looking at public safety issues to relocate the wall as a recommendation. And now it's you working on the consensus whether to keep it in place or to move it.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the commissioners or questions?
Well, I just had a question. I'll ask Rick this question. So is there enough room to put a bike path in there if we did that? With that wall there?
Well, the bike path would always be in the pavement part.
No, I understand, but if you widen it down, I mean, the road, would you?
Oh, it'd be tight, but it could work, Land, you know?
That road is 30 feet curb to curb.
So on, as far as the easement go, for some reason we had to move the wall, right?
Yeah.
It comes to the expense of the town, right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. So
that's why you're way, I see what direction you're going.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's an expense to the town if we have to.
Right, the town engineer is always looking in the future.
No, I'm saying that's why I think he recommended moving the wall now because of the expense to the.
That is correct.
Town down the road. That's the only questions I have.
Okay. Yes.
We're talking about a 1/4 of an inch. Like, honestly, there's really nothing we can do for a 1/4 of an inch? And we gotta go through all this for a 1/4 of an inch? I bet you 99% of the people out there don't even know what a 1/4 of an inch is.
Now, that's why you have the accuracy that you do.
If I had hair on my head, probably one of my hair strands would be a 1/4 of an inch.
Together you wouldn't make it.
There you go. Like, it's nothing.
This is a rare situation, which I just stated. Very
How often are we gonna run into this in this town?
This will be the only one you will.
So then why can't we just,
Well, you can't, so.
it's a 1/4 of an inch.
We don't have to move it.
I know, but it's a 1/4, like, just, gotta go through all this for a 1/4 of an inch?
All right.
Caputo, it's based on the accuracy of what the land surveyor.
He did a great job. It's a 1/4 of an inch. Like, even if it was an inch, like, what,
Maybe you should have kept it.
that's an inch.
Right? If it wasn't for the surveyors, we wouldn't be, you or I couldn't measure it that accurately, right?
Yeah.
Where I tried to measure it, we'd come
And Don,
10 different numbers by measuring that.
Doesn't have a little stretcher or something?
and Don, years ago, the plus and minus will come in a lot. It has come a long way.
So, you know, again, if we had the frontage and we were able to dedicate the extra right of way, then I think the question is right, we would not have to move the wall, that wouldn't even be on the table.
Right.
But because we're a 1/4 of an inch short, we're saying, we'll give you the easement, but we want you to Scott's recommending that you move it. I'd agree with those commissioners that it's been there for a long time. If there is going to be some kind of a I have a right of way. We have our easement, we're going to take that wall out. As part of a bigger project sometime further down the line.
Okay. All right, then we'll move along and we'll talk about this more in deliberations.
Really?
If you need to. Yes, well, we could.
Quarter of an inch.
All right. So we're going to move along to deliberations and determinations.
Can we start with this one? Can we start with this one? Real quick.
Can we start with this one? Sure.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's go.
All right. It sounds like the majority of the commission is okay with approving the CB 2021-03 without moving the wall. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. All right, so then we'll direct a approval.
I think they already.
You already have it approved?
I have a draft resolution, Mr. Chairman, if you want me to read it.
Sure.
Okay, regarding subdivision approval, 2021-03, 1269C. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission is considering an application for a 3-lot residential subdivision involving one parcel identified as 334 Cutlass Farm Road. Whereas in the course of the review, the commission has noted the following. Subject property contains approximately 4.06 acres, zoned residence 1. Subject property contains an existing single-family dwelling located on proposed lot 2, and accessory structures. Subject property is not located within 500 feet of a town boundary, or subject to any known conservation easements. Subdivision proposed the creation of 3 lots, 1, 2, and 3, for the construction of 2 new single-family dwellings on lots 1 and 3, with each served by individual subsurface septic system and public water supply. Subject property is more particularly proposed to be divided as follows: Lot 1, 1.1 acres, Lot 2, 1.1 acres, Lot 3, 1 acre. According to the Monroe Health Department, the soils on the site are suitable to accommodate on-site sewage disposal system. New residential homes will be served by public water. Subdivision does not propose to construct sidewalks. Applicant notified the abutting property owners of the proposed subdivision. Site is not located within a public watershed area. The site does contain wetlands, but there are no regulated upland review areas associated with this subdivision. An easement along Lot 3 is provided in lieu of dedicated land to the right-of-way, and is a requested waiver of the applicant. Applicant is requesting no street tree plantings as there is no new road construction activities, and to not require the relocation of the stone wall, which the commission just discussed. Now therefore be resolved, the commission in accordance with section 111-202 of the subdivision land regulation hereby finds the proposed subdivisions, associated development plans and company certificate documents and data conform to the requirements. Further resolved, consistent with statutes, state statutes 8-25 and the Monroe Land Subdivision Regs. The commission at its meeting of January 20th, by a motion and a second, hereby approves it, subject to the following: conveyance of the open space to the town of Monroe prior to the recording of the record map, conveyance of easement for future roadway purposes along Lot 3 prior to the recording of the record map, adherence to the recommendations of the town engineer in his report dated January 20th, with the exception of the street trees and the relocation of the retaining wall, adherence to the recommendation of the health department in their letter dated January 20th, 2022, relocation of the existing stone wall as recommended by the town engineer is not required. And the commission agrees that the street trees not be planted. Be it further resolved that this application relates to the subdivision and related improvements as described to the subdivision application and as shown on the final record map. And be it further resolved, the commission hereby authorizes the publishing of a notice of decision consistent with Connecticut General Statutes 8.26. So, Mr. Chairman, we need a motion in a second and a roll call vote.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve subdivision SUP 2021-03, file number 1269C,
As discussed. Second.
Motion, and a second. We'll call the roll, starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, no.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mayne, yes.
Westland, yes.
The yeses have it, so this is approved.
Very good. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Okay, we have another item on the agenda for deliberation and determinations. This one is familiar to us all. We have an excavation and fill permit, EFP, file number 10764 Cambridge Drive and 4 Independence Drive. We're all familiar with this site. Pretty simple fill plan that we've seen. Issues are, as we all know, addressed in the conditions of approval.
I have some edits, I think, that I'd like to see.
I'm sorry.
I have some edits with the outline or some changes that I'd like.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you want me to read it and then, so I can explain what it means and then you can add, delete, or change?
Asking you.
Yes.
Okay, all the commissioners, all the commissioners have a copy of the draft out.
And it was emailed. I mean, yeah, we had it emailed earlier.
No, but look at the one that's in front of you tonight, because it's been, there were some typos. Draft outline.
All right, so these are the conditions of approval. This is the new one.
All right, it's imperative that we go over this first in sequencing, because you are going to indicate what you want included in the resolution as presented or modified, or any additional conditions that you deem fit.
So let me ask a question before.
Go ahead.
We're not going to deliberate. We're just going to.
No, this is part of the deliberation.
Deliberating now.
This is the second deliberation. You had deliberation.
I understand we had a second one, but we're going to go over a draft outline before we.
Well, it's imperative that you understand what's in it, because if I read the resolution, which is very long, you're going to go, can you explain what that means?
All right.
So in terms of sequence, it makes sense to do this.
Okay.
Why do we have this?
Well, that's the second part. If you say tonight that this draft outline contains all the conditions that we want to see in the resolution, we will go to the resolution, which I have prepared. So you're going to say, add everything that's on here, or add additional, or delete, or what have you, or modify it. This draft outline is to show the substantial components of the resolution, the conditions of approval. All right, items number 1 or 2 are essentially the submission requirements. The first submission is for staff to review to make sure it's complete before the chairman signs off. So the initial submission of the final detailed plans is number 1, where all the staff people, but mainly the town engineer and myself, okay? Upon the acceptance and acknowledging that it's complete, they will then submit the final plans for signature by the chairman. That's item number 2.
Are we going to see those plans?
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to see those before we.
Not before we vote. We have to approve.
I mean, if you decide to vote tonight, you will see those plans submitted, because the applicant knows exactly what they will have to do. And before the chairman signs it, you will see it, because we're meeting again on the 3rd.
No,
So you'll have time to see them.
we'll have time to see them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
No, right? Not before we vote.
No, you're going to act on it
Yeah.
before the chairman signs off.
Yeah.
When the chairman signs off, and if they post the bond, they're ready to go, because wetlands has been approved. If zoning gets acted on and they post the bonds, they're ready to go.
So we won't be able to change anything on the plan, is what you're saying.
Tonight is to review all of the conditions that are relevant.
So we.
If you agree, you will act on the resolution. That enables them to submit the final plans incorporating all the changes, okay?
Because they submit.
Staff will show you those plans because this is an involved application. We meet again February 3rd.
Okay.
But the wheels will be in motion. It's kind of like what we did with McDonald's. Remember, we approved it and then those things came up and we addressed it, you know?
We addressed it because half of it wasn't in here.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, item number 3. Now we're getting into the substantive portion of it. The applicant will provide funds for regular periodic inspections by a neutral third-party company. This is essentially the same language that the inland wetlands used. This was reviewed by special counsel on the language. With the proper LEP certification to be chosen and hired by the Inland Wetlands Commission and to be used jointly by the Planning and Zoning Commission through its staff. Inland Wetlands Commission is going to be doing the RFP like they did initially, LEP. We are going to use that same professional. They're going to provide documentation to wetlands and to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Who is?
The LEP.
So what is the?
We're piggybacking on that.
No, I know we're piggybacking. So what's the inspection criteria that we're?
That's what I'm going to get into it a little bit.
Going over it all.
The professional will develop inspection criteria and provide written and verbal reports to the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as to the Wetlands Commission. This inspection will include performance of the removal of material deemed to be inappropriate fill material, as well as all material to be brought in as clean fill as defined by regulations of the Connecticut State Statute 22A-209D1. That's the clean fill.
Is it? Because I was trying to look it up and I felt like I kept finding something different. So that was one of the things, just to make sure that's the right number. And then my only other thing I wanted to add was the applicant had agreed to go further and remove, I believe.
Asphalt
Yeah.
and rebar that's sticking out of concrete.
Well, I'm going to get to that because.
That's in a different section.
That's in a different section.
So I have a quick.
I can see that in any second.
It's in the, it's in here, I believe.
Oh, it's in the folder, not the, okay.
All right, number 4.
Hold on. Can we stay at number 3 for 1 second? So wetlands is going to find the LEP to use?
Inland Wetlands has the requirement of doing the RFP, like they did initially for the remediation.
Right, so they're choosing who the LEP is going to be for this project.
Right. And then we're going to use the LEP because the person's licensed in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, but we, as a commission, is going to have certain different requirements than wetlands is going to have.
Oh, absolutely. That's what we're going to go into. Yeah.
So I want to know what those requirements are going to be. We don't have those, we have those all down here
Yes.
for the LEP?
Yes.
I think we do. Not
Well, let him go
All
over
right,
it
go ahead.
first. and then
Let me go over it.
It's in there, what's in there.
Okay.
Regular and periodic, can we be a little bit more specific?
Yes.
Monthly, I mean, quarterly, I mean, what are you
Well,
thinking?
I have that in there. Okay. There's a lot of moving parts in there, so, but I want to get it.
So let Vic present this and make notes
Yeah.
in here, and then when he's done presenting it, we can go back and if we do see that there's something missing, then we can ask for it, all right?
Okay, so number 3, very important component, it's the LEP, selection of the LEP by the Inland Wetlands Commission. The entire staff is going to be participating. That's the town engineer, town planner, planning and zoning administrator, wetlands agent. We're all going to be reviewing it. They will probably solicit 5 like they did last time for the remediation work. All right, number 4, also an important component. The applicant shall submit a generalized phasing plan narrative detailing the timing of the removal of the non-clean fill material, processing of existing fill material, including the approximately 108 18,000 cubic yards of stockpile material. That's the overburden, stuff that has stayed there. To be reused on the site as clean fill, and the processing of new clean fill, approximately 493,000 cubic yards, which they say will take about 5 years, remember. And remember, you only do a 2-year permit. They got to come in to be brought to the site. So this narrative is covering what needs to come out, what's going to be used at stockpile on the site, and what's going to be brought in. And the LEP, along with their own staff people, will be monitoring that. Number 5, and this is something that staff needs from you if you make this a condition of approval. 5, the applicant shall include in the phasing plan narrative the immediate removal of all non-clean fill material, including but not limited to the Stratford High School, prior to any new fill brought into the site. The applicant is saying, I want to do everything at once. So this is your call. Do you want to mandate that be done first initially? Or do you have faith in the applicant saying, I can do everything at once? So that means trucks coming in with clean fill, right? And them removing the material that's considered non-clean and processing it and removing it out. So that's the commission's call. Do you want that done immediately or do you want it done concurrently? Want the new fill coming in? So look at that one and then we're gonna have to get a consensus on that one. It is recommended that the applicant request a deep pre-activity meeting to identify any and all required permits that may be needed and address other possible deep concerns. You heard the applicant. We have the valid permits right now. But the intervener has said it behooves this commission in at least making this a recommendation. Because if a permit hasn't been obtained, check with deep actively and make sure it's covered. So this is a recommendation. You're not saying the applicant shall have a pre-activity meeting with deep. They've already told you they have valid permits from deep right now. Deep has been actively involved in this application as this.
Should we request that meeting with them?
Come again?
Should we request a meeting with Deep?
Well, you're saying you're recommending that they request that meeting.
Okay.
But it's not a requirement. We're not requiring it.
Deep knows what's going on. It's just something that the intervener asked this commission to do. And I thought that using the word recommend. Okay, the next one is the 4 waivers that they're requested. 9.C, no change in contour within 25 feet of any property line. They need that waiver. 9.D as in David, no artificial slope greater than 14 degrees to the horizontal shall be created within 50 feet of the property line. They need that one. 9.E, no artificial slope greater than 14 degrees to the horizontal shall be created within 50 feet of a street line. Also need that. And 9.P as in Paul, this is the grading, processing, the temporary equipment. Because they need to process the material that's going to be excavated out and sorted. The bad stuff leaves, the rebar. The other stuff they want to process and reuse.
What are you talking about?
No, there are materials that are going to be removed. There may be some concrete that is attached to the rebar that they can reuse. They're processing the stuff that's going to be excavated out.
No.
And the stuff coming in.
When you start processing and taking rebar out, that you turn this into a recycling facility. We're not doing
We're not calling that, Leanne, a recycling.
Well,
This is the removal.
doing that, but
This is
that's,
the removal of non-clean fill.
no, I understand.
It has to be
I understand what's on the site, that for Stratford and everything like that. But they said that they were going to bring in clean fill.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so if you're going to remove rebar out of cement, you're recycling that to make clean fill. That's what you're doing.
But how do you want them to get the
processing.
stuff that's on the site that's not cleaned out?
Well, I understand that. That's why he's talking about getting that done and getting rid of that. And moving forward, we're told we're bringing in clean fill.
Absolutely.
Right, clean fill is not processing to make it clean fill.
You're absolutely right.
Is clean fill. I want to be clear on that. That's what.
There's two parties there. The
Right, but they
LAP.
have to bring equipment on there to get.
No, I got all that.
That's all it's asking for.
And let's remember, there's two parties on the property. It's the applicant and their staff and the LEP hired by the applicant providing review for the town.
No, I understand that, but the way you just came across it, it was like that you said that we're going to give them the thing here, that we're going to remove or deposit. Well, I understand about depositing it, okay? And that Kevin was saying that he had to, crush it to compact it and get it in there. I want to make sure that we're not turning this into a recycling facility.
Absolutely.
Well,
because that's regulated.
It is regulated. It's regulated by the state.
The LAP individual would bring.
That's why I want to see the scope of what the LEP is going to have before we go down the road here further. Because if you don't have a scope of that, how would I know that?
Right.
Right?
No, you're absolutely right. And I failed to bring that up. The commission will see copies of the RFP too.
Well, I'll have to see copies of RFP before I.
And you'll see
something that I don't.
And you'll see the narrative of the LEP consultants. So
When do we have to vote on this by? How many days? We're at what, 40 something, 50 something?
65 days. You have plenty.
So basically.
But are they going to be able to hire an LEP, get an RFP out, get that all
Oh, yeah, we're moving on this very quickly.
where that's done?
We've already solicited 2 years ago, 5 LEPs that were capable of doing the job. They hired 1. So they're probably going to solicit the same 5. They know the town, and the 5 did not have any conflicts of interest.
Well, if we let them finish, we let them start. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, 8.
There's certain parts of this, Mike. I want to cover each part of this because it's very important that we cover each part of this. I don't want to move all the way down here and then not cover parts of what we
But I
need to
think your
discuss.
questions will be answered later on in the narrative.
Yeah. Number 8, the applicant shall provide monthly engineering progress reports prepared by a licensed civil engineer. You heard from Solely Engineering. We will provide that. Solely Engineering is doing 127 Main Street. You're going to hear from Joe later on. The progress reports. So it's going to be similar to that because we have to monitor it. 9, the applicant shall post a bond in the amount recommended by the town engineer in accordance with section 6.4.11. Said bond shall be shared with the Inland Wetlands Commission. And that amount
Was it
$740,000. Now, does everyone understand? There is a bond going to be submitted in the amount of $740,000. That will be used by the Inland Wetlands Commission and the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Same bond?
It's one amount, but both bodies have the ability to reduce it and eventually release it. This is going to be it's going to be a hybrid type of bond. But meaning that there's only one, $740,000 to be used jointly by the planning. I've done joint bonds within the Wetlands Commission in the past, planning and zoning for projects. So it's going to be similar, but the town engineer will be assisting us on the language for that bond because it's got to be written up correctly because you're going to have inland wetlands being requested for reductions of it, not occurring at the same time with the planning and zoning. It's 2 separate animals because they're doing a restoration work there.
How would they be able to reduce the bond unless we reduce the bond with them?
No,
It'd have to be a joint thing, no?
No, this is going to be unique. So we're going to be educating you on the bond thing component too.
You have that?
That's a work in progress too.
It's all going to be filed through the town engineer, right?
We have a couple things that are going to be coming down the pike. The RFP, which you want to look at.
Right.
The final detailed plans before the chairman signs off, and how the bond's going to be executed.
Right.
This is going to be a hybrid type of bond.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, 10, the applicant shall adhere to all the requirements of section 6.4.8, requirements for approval of excavation and or grading. That lists all the issues from dust control to hours of operation, et cetera. The permit shall be valid for a 2-year period. The regs right now limit you to a 2-year with the ability to grant extensions. And the extension provision allows you to have a public hearing if you so deem necessary, or you can handle it administratively. That is your call. So obviously, you're going to be reviewing the monthly reports and the reports from the LEP. The 2 years is going to come before you know it. You're going to have a request 45 days before it expires, and you will make a determination whether or not to have a public hearing. And then, of course, the last one is in the event that there's any problems associated with the activities, the zoning enforcement officer can intervene. Obviously, the zoning enforcement officer will be monitoring it as well, and will be reading all the reports from the LEP and inspecting the site as well, too. The number 11 goes without saying. I just put that in there because of the nature of the activities going on. So these are all the very general components, a lot of moving parts that you still have to review, RFP, final plans, and the bond. Because this is an involved project. And I know a lot of commissioners want to read the fine wording of the narrative that the LEP consultant is going to spell out. Like they did for the wetlands for the remediation work. Because that dealt with the monitoring of the wells and all that.
That stuff. And well, and also for us to have him looking at the material that comes in and what material's there, right? Is that going to be part of our deal?
Yeah.
All right, so we need to see that scope.
But, so I don't know how you feel tonight, Mr. Chairman. All of the necessary parts are in.
We're going to hire the LEP. We're not going to have him produce a document as to how he's going to go about this and then review that.
Well, I want to
Because
see.
that's going to take a long time.
Can't make somebody we
to
haven't
do.
hired produce something.
No. So
No,
we will
We have to hire them first.
Right. We will be hiring the LEP and telling him what we want him to do, which is
then
listed in here.
But I think Lincoln will be satisfied when he reads their narrative, what their job scope is.
What the job scope is, right. I need to know what, but don't forget, we're not hiring the LEP.
Yeah, we are.
Yes, we are. They're paying for it. We're
Wetlands is
hiring.
hiring the LEP. We're not hiring it.
Yeah, but it's for the town of
We're going
Monroe.
to piggyback on that.
We are. It's for the town of Monroe.
I understand that. So they have certain requirements they want, and we have certain requirements we want. They haven't even got a scope of what for them yet, right? You haven't got
We're
it.
working on that with special counsel, with Barbara and Vin.
So we need to see what the scope of the work is going to be that the LEP is going to do on this project.
Right.
This could turn into a 10-year project.
Right. But I want the commission to know that staff is comfortable for you to go to the next level, which is the resolution.
Right. Can we go through the resolution?
Because the chairman, when the chairman signs off on the plans, then the certificate of zoning compliance is issued, providing the bonds filed. So it's the chairman signing off, bond filed, and the zoning officer, as well as the wetlands officer, they're one and the same now, issuing the permits. All right, so if you're satisfied, I'll go to the resolution now, which you all have a copy of. And Mr. Chairman, there are a lot of pages on here. And,
Have to go verbatim.
no, but there's some typos too, which I'm going to read out. That's
Right.
Yeah, because like.
all right. Mr. Chairman, this is the draft excavation filling permit approval for EFP 2020-103, file 107, 64 Cambridge Drive and 4 Independence Drive. Applicant, property owner, Astral Land Holdings LLC and Spacely Land Holdings LLC. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission has considered an application for an excavation filling permit for Astral Land Holdings and Spacely Land Holdings affecting property located at 64 Cambridge Drive and 4 Independence Drive. Whereas the proposed excavation filling permit application submitted pursuant to the permit standards and requirements of zoning section 6.4 seeks to import approximately 493 cubic yards of fill material and reuse of 118,000 cubic yards of existing on-site material for the purpose of filling the site to support a future development proposal. Site filling is anticipated to last beyond the initial 2 years of this permit, involving approximately 27,500 truckloads. That is based on the 5-year period, as you heard at the public hearing, of imported fill material. Fill transport activities on abutting Cambridge Drive, Pepper Street, and Main Street, Route 25, are proposed to be restricted to the hours of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that's Monday through Saturday. Whereas the proposal also seeks approval of the following waivers: 6.9C, 6.49D, 6.9E, and 6.49P, which I just went over on the outline. Whereas the subject property is served by a driveway via Cambridge Drive, Pepper Street, which all goes to Main Street, Route 25. Whereas in the course of the review, the commission has noted the following: site is not subject to a conservation easement. The first one is incorrect. It's not subject to a conservation easement or other restrictor covenant. Site is located in the West Peconic Public Water Supply. Property is not located within a floodplain. Site activity occurs within wetlands, watercourses, and regulated upland review areas for which a wetlands site restoration permit was obtained. Commission has determined the need for the applicant to provide daily records of imported material to ensure that only clean material as defined by Connecticut DEEP is brought in. Applicant shall maintain a daily log of all imported material, including appropriate soil analysis, and provide said log monthly to the zoning enforcement officer. Okay, the commission has considered the proposed application at a duly noticed public hearing opened on November 18th. We went back to November 18th on this, and adjourned on January 6th, 2022. Notice of the public hearing was filed in the town clerk's office and published in Voices. Public hearing notice was sent to abutting property owners within 100 feet. The commission at its regular meeting of January 20th, upon motion and seconded by, following deliberations conducted on both January 6th, 2022 and January 20th, 2022, voted in favor of the approval, subject to being further resolved consistent with standards of zoning 6.4.23. Also includes the limited approval of the requested waivers, subject to the modification and requirements of approval set forth below. Be it further resolved, applicant is specific to that detailed herein and the associated site plans detailing the excavation filling activities, which site plans will be required to be revised and signed by the commission chair. Remember, the staff first has to review it, and if it's fine, then the commission chair will sign off. Be it further resolved, the approval is subject to the recommendations of the town engineer in his report dated 10/04/2021, which includes the bonding. Be it further resolved, the approval is subject to the following. This includes all of the outline that I discussed earlier. There is some overlapping, but in this case, it needs to be done, I think, because it covers everything. One, the submission of one complete set of 5 plans to be reviewed by staff prior to the sign off by the chairman. 2, upon completion, satisfactory review by the town engineer or town planner. Submission of final plans authorizing endorsement of the same by the commission chair. 3, the applicant will provide funds for a regular periodic inspection by a neutral third-party LEP certification. 4, the applicant shall submit a generalized phasing plan narrative detailing the timing of the removal of non-clean fill material, processing of existing fill material, and the processing of new clean fill brought to the site. 5, the applicant shall include in the phasing plan the immediate removal of all non-clean fill material, including but not limited to the Stratford High School, prior to any new fill brought into the site. Please circle number 5, Mr. Chairman. We need a consensus on that. Applicant has repeatedly advised you that they want to do it all at the same time. 6, it is recommended the applicant request a pre-activity meeting to identify any and all required permits. Once again, the applicant has indicated all of the required D permits have been obtained. This was recommended by the intervener. 7, the applicant shall provide monthly engineering progress reports prepared by a licensed civil engineer. This is similar to what we're doing with 127 Main Street. 8, the applicant shall adhere to the recommendations of the town engineer, including his recommended bond amount in his report dated 12/09/2021. 9, the applicant shall adhere to the requirements of section 6.4.8. That is all inclusive, dust control A through Z. And the permit shall be valid for a period of 2 years from the approval date. Extensions may be considered in accordance with section 6.4.8C, and the commission has an option of having a public hearing if you deem it necessary. And 10, the ZEO shall have the authority to enforce the provisions of the excavation filling permit. That goes without saying, I put that in. Be it further resolved, this approval is subject to the applicant providing a daily log of all imported material, including soil analysis report. Said log shall be provided monthly to the ZEO. Be it further resolved, the commission hereby authorizes the publication of the notice of decision pursuant to General Statute 8-3CB. And be it further resolved, this approval shall be subject to the following modifications and requirements. A, prior to endorsement of approval, final excavation filing plans. This is when the chairman signs it. And these are all the conditions that go along with that. The name of the owner and the applicants on the plans, et cetera. And then, so that's A, B, C. And well, after C, there should be D. D is adding the waivers that the commission is considering for approval. 2 is filing of the final stormwater management report. And 3 is filing of the final site plans. Once again, a lot of this is redundant. A and B, satisfactory conditions of conditions. 6, final guarantee of the bond. This is important. Applicant shall provide a financial guaranteed bond, $740,000. This is going to be new to me. This is going to be a hybrid, so we'll be using the assistance of the town engineer on here. It's the one bond in the amount of $740 to satisfy inland wetlands and zoning. So we will give you a list of how requested reductions are going to be handled and obviously the release of it.
What if, just one question here before I get off. What happens if they meet the wetlands approval and they're finished with wetlands? Then
We still have a 740, which will be reduced by the planning and zoning. I got to keep 2 lots.
So how do we know that?
we're gonna show you an example after the town engineer comes up with the formatting for this bond, okay? This is a unique bond.
Before wetlands can release anything, it would have to come in front of us anyway.
Oh, absolutely. And staff will be reporting to you on what requests are going to wetlands. We got to piggyback this all the way through. So you'll be watching the request of the inland wetlands reductions as well as your own.
So, all right, well, go ahead, finish your thing. I got a bunch of questions to ask you. Are you done?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is all the requirements that need to be put in to ensure that all the levels and steps are adhered to. B, prior to any site excavation filling activities approved. Procurements of involved agency permits and approvals requiring recording of approval. The zoning permit. Pre-construction meeting. As you know, we have the pre-construction meetings. This commission is kept appraised of what we do, whether it's Panera Bread or for Amazon. We let you know. The pre-construction meeting, we'll give you a report. Joe's going to be reporting tonight in his report on Amazon and 127 Main Street. So when this project moves forward, he'll be giving his report. C is during the construction, the following. These are all sediment erosion. If there's any spills of the trucks on the local roads and the state highways, they're responsible for the cleanup and any damage to the infrastructure. D is prior to the issuance of the permanent. Essentially, the initial one is like a provisional. It allows you to do the work. And then the final zoning will say that the applicant has complied with the filling and grading. Site is stabilized. There's no issues with stormwater. The town engineer will have to sign off on that. And all the other applicable issues. And then E is prior to the partial or final release of bond. F is acceptance, changes, compliance, expiration. We don't anticipate any changes. The applicant has put a lot of time and effort into it as well as the commission. So they're ready to move forward and do the plan, the final plan. It's pretty straightforward. You're removing the bad stuff in the hole. Inland wetlands is site restoration. So we have the filling and grading for zoning. Wetlands is doing the restoration of the wetlands. And the expiration, as the commission is aware, is 2 years. So if you approve it tonight, January 20th, it expires January 20th, 2024. They submit their extension request 45 days before the expiration. That allows you to have a public hearing if you deem it necessary. So this is the draft. Staff feels comfortable with it. Town attorney, special counsel has reviewed this, as well as the draft outline.
All right, we'll take some questions from the commissioners, starting on my left with, want to take 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll stand in recess for 5 minutes.
Okay. Starting on our left, and we have a timeout. I was gonna make a motion. He said starting on my left, and now we have a timeout.
Okay, hello, we're back in session, Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission, January the 20th, 8:37 PM. We were in deliberation on the excavation and fill permit, and we were going with questions from the commissioners, starting on my left with Commissioner Westland.
Well, just looking this over, and it's obviously pretty inclusive of everything we talked about for months and years and everything else, but we as a town and a commission cautious the wrong thing is going to happen with this property again. There's going to obviously need to be several permits issued as we go forward. Is there any way to try to put any type of target in here as far as elevations are concerned? So when we're looking at this again in 2 years, we can kind of
Oh, absolutely. yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
rehash where we are, where we started, where we're,
And you're going to be hearing from Joe, absolutely.
Actually, we're doing that now on another project.
okay.
So we'll know.
I think that's going to be important in a couple of
Ab-
years.
no question.
Make sure we made the right decision and obviously not obviously, I wouldn't be asking the question, but the LEP is more than willing to listen to our input, not just the inland wetland.
Yeah, that's a reasonable
Yeah.
process.
So I think there was some concern about that from what
Yeah.
I was hearing question wise. So I think we've beaten everything else to nauseam here and, that's all I have.
Just a couple paperwork things. Over here, we have Dominic voting.
Oh, yeah, that's all, yeah, that's.
Yeah,
Oh, you wanted to vote, right?
yeah. I mean, if Dominic wants to take my spot, I guess. The other thing is, I don't see anywhere in here where we've stricken the asphalt as promised. And I don't see anywhere in here where we've stricken the rebar sticking out of concrete. So those need to be added.
That's the non-clean.
I know, but those need to be
No,
specific.
because that is clean.
No.
By the
Well, it's
regulation,
Clean
No,
fill.
rebar is not.
Rebar sticking out
but
of
the
it.
asphalt needs to be added.
Right, that needs to be added, but also Mr. Solly said any rebar sticking out of concrete will be not brought to the site and rejected, so that needs to be in here also. About the Stratford High School, my feeling is if it has to get dug up and processed anyway, I don't see why they have to do that first before Phil can come in. I mean, it's got to get done. So if it gets done at the same time or gets done first, I don't, just me speaking, I don't see a difference. If it
I
gets,
think you're right.
I agree.
It's hard.
if it gets done, if it's getting done, it's getting done. Does it get done before? Does it get done after? I mean, it gets
We
done.
want to fill this in.
Well, how would you know that how would you
Well,
know?
we're going to have somebody there.
And again, we haven't.
This is LP that we're going to hire.
Again, we cannot question, as a commission, we cannot question every step that somebody takes. We cannot question every step somebody takes when we've asked them over and over for a million things and they've agreed to all of them. So if they've agreed to hire a licensed professional, we have to trust that this licensed professional is going to do their job as well.
Right.
Okay, like we can't say to somebody, well, you got to fly to the moon and grab some moon rock and put it in there. And they say yes. And then we're like, well, he's using the wrong rocket. Well, come on, guys. Enough's enough with that. So I'm okay with them processing Stratford High School at the same time as bringing in new fill. Because if it's got to get processed, it's got to get processed. Number 6. The deep, what was it?
The activity meeting.
Pre-activity meeting. Listen, this project, we either require it or we don't. We don't recommend, because recommend is subject. When we use words like recommend, stuff like that, I don't know. Someone could say, well, you recommended it. I didn't do it. Is that wrong? No.
So Rick, isn't the pre-activity meeting just to make sure they have the correct permit?
Yeah, it's not an onerous requirement,
Okay, so again, we either make it mandatory or we don't. And for me, I mean, Deep's been at this project a million times. Everything seems to come back okay. I don't know if I don't really think it needs to be done. With the permitting process, there's permits that are required from Deep. Is that what I'm understanding?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, so don't we monitor that as a town as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so then we don't need anything special that way, right?
Right.
Do we know it?
If you feel comfortable.
So if they get all the permits that Deep requires, they show us proof that they've received it, we're good, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as long as they get everything that Deep requires, as well as the permit.
We have been provided staff of confirmation of the deep requirements, so.
No, okay, I understand. Right, so I'm just saying, I'm just trying to streamline some of this stuff. Stratford High School, I was good with. I'm not concerned about the deep pre-activity meeting if they're gonna get all the permits that are required by deep anyway. Where I am concerned is I do want, the LEP. I do want to see a scope of what they're gonna do for us. Obviously, wetlands is gonna get the scope of what they're gonna do for them. I just would like to see what they're gonna do for us, before the chairman signs anything.
Submission of the LEP scope of services. Okay.
Yes, I think that's kind of important. And then my only question, and however the commission wants to do it, I'm good with it, is how often do we want this LEP? Again, somewhere, where was it in this one? Where is regular and periodic with the LEP?
It was monthly.
We're definitely monthly with the LEP giving us reports, or is it quarterly? Is it?
No, it should be monthly.
So the LEP will submit something to us monthly about what's going on there in our scope for them.
You'll see the scope of services for that.
Joe, what do you think?
The only comment I would make about that is that might differ from what wetlands is requiring, but it doesn't mean that P and Z can't require something different as far as submittal goes.
No, I'll be honest with you, wetlands needs to do their job, we need to do ours. So if they so they're gonna submit something monthly to us to review.
If that's what the commission wants.
That's a reasonable request.
Okay, okay, so 2 questions off of that. Is quarterly not a good idea? Is that too far? Is that too long of a time?
Considering the nature of this permit, I would recommend the monthly.
You would recommend monthly?
Just like we're going to get the monthly reports from the project engineer.
Okay, so I'm assuming if that's part of it, that's part of it. Okay, that's fine. I had a second question to that and I totally forgot.
Yeah, they can change that too if they want.
Well, if you want.
I forgot what my second part to that was. The waivers. The waivers. Where you at?
7.
Huh?
Item 7.
Item 7. 7.
Short thing.
I'm on the wrong page. Talk to me. Talk to me.
That was on the draft.
Got it. So the waivers, if these waivers were not granted,
It would impact the whole operation.
the whole operation,
They're critical.
okay. And how,
That was made known at the public hearing.
okay. And because I'll be honest with you, I am not 100% positive on the specifics of each one of these waivers. How far off are these waivers from our regulations?
No, that's why we have them in it. And this is a very large site that has infrastructure around it, the roads, property lines, and the need to have activities within those setback distances.
Okay.
So it's all reasonable. You did it on Main Street.
No, I understand we've done it before. I'm just making sure that what they're asking for.
No, these are all.
Because
they're all needed, they're all reasonable to get this project done.
Right, and this is not going to greatly impact the surrounding properties?
That's correct. There's no negative impact to the surrounding properties.
I think, remember, there's a property line that runs through.
The first chart is just concerned.
So basically, if we were to keep these, they would have to fill everything except for that property line.
Okay.
So there'd be like a road in the middle of the property.
So with the waivers, I'm good with all 4 of them. Obviously, we're trying to do something in subcommittee about the fill permit extensions, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so for now, we have to go off of that, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And now, I'm done with my questions. If I think of something, I'll be back.
Next.
Commissioner Ambrosi, do you have any questions
Yeah, all these waivers you're asking for is because of violations, right?
No, the first two waivers, they have a property line that runs in between the site because both 64 and 4 are separate properties.
No, but these.
No, Leon, they're a result of the activity that has taken place.
Right,
And then
these
to do the filling and
These are the violations,
well,
contains with the property, but. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
but they're violations
These
caused
are all,
by.
a combination of the activities and violations. It's all included.
but these are not, these waivers you're trying to grant here is because of a violation already,
And the overall,
And grading.
and the overall activity though,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying, but that's what these waivers are for.
in part, yeah.
This is not like a normal waiver that we're,
No, this is a unique piece of property, as the commission is aware.
okay. Then, all right, I got some other questions. The inspection to be performed, performance and removal of material deemed not to be appropriate fill material. Well, what happens if it is that?
What?
If it is
Inappropriate?
inappropriate?
Yeah, it leaves.
Off the site.
I understand that, but then that turns into be a violation. Right?
Only if they leave it on the site.
Yeah,
Well,
that's,
no, if it's taken into the site, it's a violation too.
no, but again, that's why we're having the checks and balance. You have the staff personnel of the operation and the LEP
Right, that's why I want to see what the scope of the LEP.
and our old, yes.
I approved this because we need to see that scope.
I don't mean to be rude, but I already asked for that and they said they're gonna give us to that before Mike signs off on that.
Did you have any questions?
No, I'm just saying if you were paying attention.
No, I know.
I had already asked.
You got to put in here about no asphalt. You don't have that in
If
there.
you-
like
I already-
Bruno said. I already got that. in.
Said that one if you're.
The problem, the other problem of like you're saying is that the process, like, no material is to leave the site.
Only
bad material.
No material.
Yes.
No, the
If you're taking,
rebar's leaving, the tile's leaving.
the rebar and the tiles leaving from the previous
Yes.
stuff that's there. I'm talking about the new fill that comes in. There should be nothing leaving.
unless they find something they can't go into the ground.
Yeah, but if it's bad material, it's got.
And then that turns into a recycling facility.
No, we're-
We'll allow that in this.
Leon, it's not going to be recycling by the definition. And that's where the state will be monitoring it too. You have all these checks and balances going on. It can't be a processing facility.
That's why I don't want to get into.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into.
Lee, honestly, I don't think any of us want
I
to
think
get
the
into that.
level of
Right,
oversight.
it could turn into be a process.
It can't.
Start by.
Yeah, but the LEP's on that.
Yeah.
It's part
I
of
got
our.
that.
Leon, I know your comfort level will be better once this operation starts and we have our,
That's-
Joe's going to give his report.
I want to see something from the LEP first before I think we can approve anything, because we don't even know what the scope of the LEP is going to do. We
Whatever
don't
we
know
tell
what
them.
he's, I got, no, it's not whatever we're going to tell him to do. We're not hiring him.
Yes,
We are.
we are.
Yes, we are.
But Leon, there's going to be some input, so you are going to be satisfied with their scope of services. You will be satisfied.
Leon, Wetlands is hiring this person. We are using the same person, but they're gonna have our scope of work.
Right, but
all gonna be-
We are hiring them.
Do we even know what the LEP is going to recommend for us to?
Well, in part because of what
Not a license.
I've read, for the.
That's what I'm saying. How would I know that if we don't know what he's going to require?
Leon,
We're not going to tell him exactly what to do. We're going to tell him what we want him to look at, and he's going to determine whether or not.
Leon, your level of comfort will be there once you read their scope of services.
And when are we going to have that?
We're working on it right now.
Okay,
You'll see it for February 3rd.
that's going to be in our approval.
You'll see it, well, you're making that a condition of approval, but you'll see the scope of services at the next meeting. You're going to see final plans and you're going to see scope of services. We're moving forward on this.
I want it on here before I approve it.
It is in here.
Not on here, it's not in black.
No, we don't have an attachment, but you will see it. If for some reason you're not satisfied, you're going to say, Mr. Chairman, I don't want you to sign off on the plans.
No, either I'm going to approve these or I'm not going to approve them. And if I can't see it in black and white, I'm not going to approve them. There's no reason why I should. I don't think anybody in this commission really wants to do that unless they know what the scope is.
No, you need to understand that if you take action tonight, that starts the wheels of motion to get all these missing parts right now.
I understand. This is a long process.
And the chairman,
Bottom.
the chairman's signature on the final plans will not take place until that chairman is satisfied. You can't get the zoning permit.
I understand that. I got all that, Rick. I got the whole thing. Okay, I got it all right? Same thing that happened at McDonald's. I requested them to put in the things so that people can't get around there. That never happened, and the chairman signed off on it. So, and it wasn't part of that plan. I want to see it on the plan. I want to see complete things so that I can sign off on it. That's good for me. Go ahead.
No, I'm with Bruno, strike 5 and 6, and I'm good to go.
Okay.
We agree on something? Every once in a while.
So am I to understand that if we approve this draft, that the scope of practice will be to our satisfaction? I mean, the scope of work.
Scope of service.
Services will be what we specify.
Yeah, you're going to see it.
So what's our next move, Rick?
So you have you're ready for a motion in a second and a roll call.
Bill permit.
With the noted corrections, additions, deletions.
And then we're gonna go
We
over,
have all three.
and then we're going over it one more time before chairman signs off on it.
Every meeting, this is going to be discussed.
Yes, make it clear for.
Bruno, every meeting, this has to be discussed.
No, I understand.
There's a lot of moving parts.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to be clear.
Motion to approve.
Where's she at? Motion to approve EFP 2021-03, 64 Cambridge Drive and 4 Independence Drive, I-2.
Motion, need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll call the roll, starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, no.
Riley, yes.
Mayini, yes.
Westland, yes.
Okay, the motion passes. ECB 2021-03 is approved. Changes that noted. Thank you, everyone.
And that's not getting signed until we go over it next.
Like I said, staff is going to be discussing this all the way through. We have to.
Send us an email, right?
Yes.
Beforehand, so we could read it.
All right, we're moving along to other business. Pending minutes. We have the December 9th minutes before us. And a motion to approve the minutes from December the 9th, 2021.
I don't know if I was here.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 9th, 2021.
I have a motion, need a second.
I don't know if I was here. I don't. Oh, I was absent on the 16th. Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I just want to make sure I was here. Hold on. Do you have the 9th minutes?
Yes.
Hold on, was I here for the 9th?
Do you have the night there? The night?
Oh, I just read the 16th.
I know, that's why I keep seeing the 16th. I don't.
I'm just, takes back, because yes.
I don't know.
Mike, we don't, Rick, we don't have the.
Let's table the 9th then.
All right. Can we table, we'll table the 9th.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the December 16th, 2021 Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning minutes as drafted.
I'll make a motion to approve December 16th.
Motion, I need a second.
Do we need to seat somebody because I wasn't, or do you have enough?
No,
No.
we have a quorum. You don't want to waste the seat on that.
I don't blame you.
Motion,
Seconded?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Condon, yes.
Is there any discussion
No.
or changes?
Okay.
We'll call the roll.
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
Riley, yes.
Yes.
The 16th.
I don't know why.
We don't have a night. Okay, motion passes. Do you have any correspondence? I didn't see anything in here.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have no report. Do any of the commissioners have anything to report?
I don't have anything to report. I just have a question. Amazon do the building yet?
Mr. Chairman's going to report on it, right?
Coming up next.
Okay,
Oh, Mr. Chairman, just a reminder, subcommittee next Tuesday, the 25th, 5:30. We have 3 items on there. Special counsel Vin Marino will be discussing recent public acts involving zoning regulations, accessory dwelling units, and there's a couple other issues.
In the library?
In the library, yep. Open space plan, and then the native plantings regulations. Is everyone available Tuesday? No one's going away?
Oh, boy.
Okay, 5:30.
What?
Tap water.
Okay, we're going after.
Okay,
Like the Indeed ones, but I don't have them.
all right, as far as item number 4, zoning enforcement, 125 Garter Road, that is that's the site that's been empty for quite some time, and I've been monitoring that every couple of months. This week, there is continued activity out there. There's storage of a considerable amount of road pipe, which I suspect is coming from the Pepper Street project, but there are piles of it that would fill half of this room. There's no permit for any storage out there. There's also evidence of recent activity on the site for excavating, moving material, stockpiling material. There's an excavator parked out there. There's a screener parked out there. There's a small piece of, a small dozer, blade dozer, track machine. And it's pretty obvious from the photographs, what I've seen out there is the tracks, and comparing to the old photographs, there's been recent activity out there.
This 125?
This is 125,
Is
correct?
this the state work?
No, this is not the state work. This is a property owned by Grasso.
So what's your recommendation?
You're talking about Garter Road, right?
Wait, Garter Road or Pepper Street?
Carter.
Garter.
Yep.
Yeah, you need to give them a violation.
We need, my recommendation is we issue immediate cease and desist.
Yep.
Do it.
Okay, thank you. 485 Pepper Street, that's where Grasso is headquartered out of. There's been no change to the operation out there. There's no change to the buildings being completed or anything else. What's been going on there is still going on there.
So are they processing and outside? There's no building, correct?
Correct.
The recycling facility is on hold. He has 5 years for a site plan. Been here 3 years, so it's going on 3 years.
Yeah, but he is actively still working over there, Joe?
He's using it.
You really need to start fining him, because you already gave him a cease and desist. And so without you start fining them, and he's going to continue to go on with it.
Yeah, we were very
We're
specific.
specific on that. That needs to be you need to start giving them a fine.
All right. The anti-blight issues right there, we've got 337 Monroe Turnpike. We're still waiting for demolition on that. The applicant has not given us any kind of a schedule. It's just been.
But we hear about that site all the time.
Yeah.
We need to make that a priority.
Can we do something about that or no?
We're almost there. It's the power of persuasion.
What does that mean?
He just has to finish some of the environmental reports, and he's ready to knock it down. I know the contractor that's going to use his equipment, he's just waiting for the submission of the reports.
Why
We're
doesn't he?
so close, and he's just delaying it.
Is anybody working on the reports, or is he just not?
No, yeah, he said it was done, but he has to pay it. So I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, but how long is it going to go on for? You got to give him a time.
No, the town is ready to intervene, and I'm trying to convince them. The next one, we have a good conclusion, which Joseph's going to report on, next to Noble Gas. So we are making progress and we got to continue. Because these are derelict buildings that got to come down. They're public safety issues
And that's right in everybody's face.
in everyone's face.
Because they cut down the trees, but then.
I can see it.
The spirit of cooperation was there a year and a half ago. We got to A to D to P, and it's just to the last submission of reports. You have to submit reports confirming that asbestos and lead have been abated.
So we're gonna give them like a time frame. It's been a while.
We have, so now it's,
You tell 'em.
now it's enforcement.
What's that?
Now it's enforcement with the building official, condemnation.
Okay, so,
You gotta put a fence around it and lien the property.
okay.
Town does the work.
215 Main Street, that's the one next to Noble Gas, that's been removed. Site's been leveled out.
Yep, saw that.
Isn't that a good thing? That's
Yeah,
Is it all that? Last time I drove by, there was the, kind of the mound with the flag. Is that still there, or did they?
Don't get involved.
They're putting it in the dumpster. Yeah, it is there.
But it's important that the commission see that we are trying our earnest to get this, there's three parcels that gotta come down. One's been knocked. The second one we just talked about is ready. He's just delaying it for all the wrong reasons.
Okay, 10 Victoria Drive, I was out there, it's already Thursday, I was out there last Friday. They'd already excavated out and they had formed out the footings for the 10,000 square foot building. Guardhouse is installed. I know that there were some issues with building as of a week ago. They needed some very minor, well, it might seem minor, but there were things that the building code requires them to have there on the guardhouse. I think those have been resolved, but I will confirm that with the building official tomorrow. But I think that's been taken care of.
Definitely.
They are parking out there. There's been
Came in to get an approval from us for that, did they?
Well, yeah, they did with us. We gave them a partial CO.
No, I didn't think so. I thought they were going to ask for a partial CO, but then they said that Amazon didn't want to do it until.
Well, they did do it for the holidays and then they backed.
No. I understand that. But in front of us, we're going to give them a partial CO. And then with the contingents of the building, and they came in here and they pulled it back and they said that they weren't going to do that until the building, they weren't going to park on there until the building was done.
Then they changed their mind.
But that never came back in front of here?
Well, I mean, that's staff related, issuing the partial CO. The building department issued a partial CO. Because
Why would you do that unless we gave?
Because they needed the vans to park there for the holiday
I understand
season.
that, but wouldn't the commission give the CO?
No, staff does.
We don't. We have to give you
never
approval
given
to
a
give
CO
you
to
a
anyone.
CO?
Yes.
We would have to prove that.
No, we do the.
No, you do the approvals and you said no on the elimination of the 10,000 square feet. And then it was all administrative action.
What's the next step for them?
They're finishing it, they'll have it finished before the end of the month.
Hit the building?
Yeah, because it's a Butler building. The building's going to be finished by the end of the month.
Frost walls.
that's what they're telling us, but we have,
That's fall.
Okay, well, let's
Has
move
to
along.
bring the CO.
We've never done a CO.
We've never given us.
Right, we never voted on a CO.
Staff approves.
It's always staff, yeah.
Yeah, but,
We advise you, like Joe's advising you.
yeah, but don't we have to like waive it or whatever to allow them to do that? Because if the building, what if the building never went up? What if the building never went up?
Oh, no, we would stop the job, have them come back to you, and then you would take legal action if they're inconsistent with the site plan.
And I've been on this commission for a long time, even when Bill Porter was here, and we would have to grant somebody a temporary CO. Right?
I don't ever.
The town, but not us.
Oh, Leon, you know, that was a policy and of the chairman at the time. You're right. That was the policy of the chairman at the time. It's not a regulation. But let me look into that. You raised, I'm thinking of what you're
I've
talking about.
done it 5 million times, that's how I know
Yeah.
that we did it. When I'm going back 4 years, when Bill was here, we done it.
I don't ever remember.
Yeah, that's something that you normally wouldn't do, but
No, I think it was because we wanted to make sure
sure, yes.
that the project was complete. And we had insurance that the project was going to complete, or otherwise you wouldn't, you can't really give a CO to anything unless the project's completely complete.
And Leon, I think you're right. I think you decisions, you know, all the references I was making on the initial.
Saying, I think that that's the way it's supposed to work. And I don't, for some reason, I found out they were parking there, like Bruno said, been parking there. And for some reason, we were going to discuss it to make sure they're putting the building up, seeing what the building was going to do, and then rent it from there.
Let me look at
a certain timetable in order to put the building up, or otherwise they would have to remove the vehicles. I think that's the way it works.
I'll report on that on the February 3rd.
So the light poles and the sidewalks are in going up the road towards Main Street? Okay.
Remember, that's a private road, not a town road. People forget about that.
All right, 127 Main Street, that's the old Pond View. Okay, I'll just read this as is. We continue to receive monthly reports with material excavated and exported shown on the chart that I'm getting. So we've got a good idea from Solely Engineering as to what they've taken out and what they've actually taken off the site. A submitted report plan of October 27th, 21, which I requested from Solely, indicates a floor elevation of 370 plus or minus 2 feet. So that varies across the floor. It's only plus or minus 2 feet. In most places, it's less than that. It could be as little as a foot, basically, 4 to 370. That was the proposed elevation for the finished floor for the whatever proposed buildings were going to go there. 370 plus or minus 2 feet, which is the proposed apartment building foundation levels. Elevation is now complete on the eastern portion of the property. The work is progressing west towards Main Street. For Solely Engineering, is it anticipated the work will be completed in 6 to 8 months. Another elevation confirmation will be submitted in May to the zoning office. So we'll be able to see as that floor marches across the site where they are and that they haven't changed anything from the existing submittal now to what they've done as far as lowering it from where it's supposed to be. So we'll have a very good idea of where that floor is and how it continues to go across towards completion. There was a complaint from an abutter about a site incursion onto 53 Crescent Place, which is just to the south of 127. I went out there with the CEO. Both of us took a look at it. It was found that the incursion was actually not caused by 127, but it's actually what is out there is the property of 53 Crescent Place. So I contacted everybody and told them there's nothing to chase after 127 on this, and I certainly didn't want to chase after 53 Crescent. It consists of a couple of old snow plows, some miscellaneous farm equipment, an engine block, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, the guy at 53 has just been piling stuff up back there for I don't know how long, but it's old equipment. It's got nothing to do with 127. So I'm pretty satisfied right now with what's going on 127 is in accordance with what the approval is. And I'm comfortable with and they do submit a monthly to me. I take a close look at it to make sure that it's consistent with actual work going on there. They're taking out X, they're exporting X. We know what's going on. So I'm pretty comfortable with what's going on there.
Any more blasting planned for over there?
There is more blasting. We do, every once in a while, we'll get a complaint about blasting, but they have been pulling their permits and there's really been, any complaints have been very minor. And some of them have consisted of tailgate slamming. And somebody thinks it was blasting on them. Turns out it's not. So as far as the blasting goes, they are following protocol for it.
Any word on the senior housing on 25?
Yes. They are going for a different source of grant money. It's coming from HUD. So they changed course on where they're getting their funding from. The remaining issue is the old Route 25. You got the opening in the north end and the south end. They want to block off the north end, the applicant, and put in a new T intersection. The state has been balking on that, but the first selectman's office, along with the state rep and the liaison officer from DOT, have discussed it and they are coming up with a resolution. So things are moving.
I thought there was a blasting issue with the SIPN.
That was with the old financing though.
That was the old financing. Yeah. It wasn't, they're looking at HUD now.
Oh, okay.
Also, just to quickly mention, if anybody's, 4 Easton Road, the intersection of Hattertown and Easton, that's been purchased and the applicant or the new owner is in the process of replacing the roof. But that's it. That's all we have as far as any kind of an application goes. It's just for that, just for roof.
And
Building's not coming down, they're just replacing the roof.
What's that?
The old Aussies.
And I believe
Swanson.
the monthly reports make sense. We do it for 127, and that's a small site, instead of quarterly. Let's do it monthly. You can always change it down the road if your comfort level's there. We got to do it monthly.
I want to create a pattern, you know?
Aye, aye, Captain. Can we go home?
That's it.
Planning matters?
See everyone on Tuesday.
Done.
You can make it, because we got a lot of subject matter.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.
Sound like a motion.